So yes, to anyone who is now joining us live or you are joining us via YouTube or any other social media platform, welcome to Lives for Literacy's mental health workshop, a part of our mandate to create safe spaces for important discussions, creating better coping skills with the one and only Sandra Pines. We are so excited to have her here today and to have her expertise showcased with all of you. So just a quick rundown of how today is going to go. We're going to go through a very short welcome from Lives for Literacy and introduce today's session, and then we are going to hand it over to today's guest speaker and professional, and then we will have an opportunity to discuss, ask your questions to Sandra, and we do also have some anonymously asked questions that I will be asking you before we do our closing. So today's event is brought to you by Lives for Literacy. Lives for Literacy, we are a nonprofit organization based off of Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and we are dedicated to the eradication of illiteracy worldwide and raising awareness to the beauty of education. And a large part of this is empowering students and creating safe spaces for students. And as per Lives for Literacy's mandate and civil organizations in Canada, we are obligated to acknowledge the land in which we operate. I would first like to acknowledge the land in which Lives for Literacy technically operates, which is Montreal. Though we are not all together, our members of Lives for Literacy have the honor of living across Turtle Island. We would like to begin today's event by acknowledging the traditional lands in which our organization operates is the unceded territory of the Mohawk, a place that has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst nations in Canada. And as I am your host today, I have the extreme honor of acknowledging the land in which I live, which is Peel Region in Ontario, Canada. I'd like to acknowledge the land in which I operate is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, specifically the Iroquois, the Ojibwe Chippewa peoples, and home to the Métis. The territory in which I live is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties. So why do we do land acknowledgements? To anyone who's joining us who is not in Canada, or perhaps you are in Canada and you are just not as aware as the rest of us are right now, land acknowledgements and Lives for Literacy is mainly done for three important reasons: education, reconciliation, and accountability. Education for us and our international audience to learn about the issues present pertaining to Canada's Indigenous people. Reconciliation, as Lives for Literacy is a Canadian civil organization. We are a part of the Call to Actions of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. We are responsible for also promoting the ideals from these call to actions and making sure reconciliation can be possible in Canada. And also by acknowledging the land and noting that we are uninvited settlers and we do benefit from a system of lasting settler colonialism, it helps us keep accountable to the nations and on the land in which we live. Before we begin today's event, Lives for Literacy will also like to stand in solidarity with our Indigenous communities across Canada. We are going to take a moment to briefly reflect and discuss on the recent discovery of Indigenous children in British Columbia and in Manitoba, and a moment to discuss what this means for Lives for Literacy and for reconciliation. So in case those of you who have joined us or internationally or you're on YouTube, recently 215 Indigenous children were found in an unmarked grave site at Kamloops Residential School in Kamloops, British Columbia. And a few weeks after that, 104 Indigenous children were found in an unmarked grave in Manitoba at the Brandon Residential School. What this has meant for Canadians is a rehash of the crimes against humanity and the acts of hate that were committed against Indigenous children through the residential school system, and the genocide that has been perpetuated by this, and the continuous genocide against Indigenous peoples in Canada. Just a quick picture. This is from one of the memorials from the Kamloops Residential School. So what this means for reconciliation is it opens a door, it opens a possibility. A lot more Canadians are now facing awareness to the residential school system. More people have to research and more people are learning about the crimes that were committed through the residential school system, the involvement of the church, and how depth the Indian Act and all of harmful legislation has been against Indigenous communities. And we would like to keep promoting this education and learning how we as uninvited settlers can work to dismantle a lasting system of settler colonialism and promote reconciliation and keep the government of Canada accountable. This can be done as domestic citizens of Canada and members of the international community. There are 2 websites on the slide to teach you more about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and to give you more of an in-depth history than what I can give you today, as well as the Facing History organization. They created a small course and book that talks about the experience of Indigenous peoples in Canada and kind of gives you a more in-depth picture of how deep this hate has been and the crimes that were committed against these people from time of first contact from 16th century statement. So on that moment to reflect and a moment to kind of share with you what has been happening in Canada, I would like to keep forward and just leave us with this final statement. Lives for Literacy stands and will continue to stand with Indigenous communities across Turtle Island. We are proud allies of the Indigenous communities and we work to advocate for them as well. So today's workshop, hearing about what happened today might also stir up some feelings. Today we are going to talk about mental health. We are going to talk about our mental wellness, and we are going to hear from somebody who is probably one of the most qualified people that I have had the honor of working with in terms of mental health. Sandra Roldan Pines is an exceptional human being and mental health first aid counselor. She's worked together with youth to raise awareness for depression, anxiety, and I cannot wait for all of you to hear her speak. So for now, I'm going to turn it over to Sandra, and I'm going to make sure you have the ability to share your screen. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and share screen.
Okay.
Don't share my screen. Okay. Should be good.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I am so sorry.
No problem.
I'm trying to pull it up. Can you see that? No?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right, hold on. Let me do this. I am so sorry. Give me 1 second. For some reason, it's not popping up for me.
No problem.
Let's see. Okay, I am so sorry. Is there any way that you can show it on your side there? For some reason, I don't know what's going on with my system here.
I do see your screen.
Oh, you do see it?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Tell me if you see this. I'm sorry. Let's see. Where is it? Okay.
Yep.
Do you see this?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Sandra Roldan Pines. I am a first aid mental health counselor. I've also have certifications in grief and bereavement counseling, mental health counseling, anxiety, depression counseling, and also for those who are struggling with their mental health and are using um, I guess I don't say maybe drugs to self-medicate. Um, and what I try to do is help them to find out what the issue is, why they're feeling like this, and what to do about it. There's different things that we can do about it without seeing a doctor or having medication. But in some cases, that is required at some times. So I'm going to start off. We have about four points that I want to bring out, and I have a lot of information. So please, if you have any questions or anything, you can please be more than happy to just shout out or just let me know if you have any questions on what I'm saying. There's a lot to cover, and I'll get started. Okay, so number one, the first thing we're going to be talking about is addressing the stigma around taking care of your mental health. And one thing we should be doing is talking openly about it. In order to fight the stigma, we have to talk openly about it. We have to not be afraid of what we're going to be speaking about and thinking that people are going to look at us differently when we talk about our mental illness, whether we're depressed or anxiety or PTSD. People that don't understand are the ones that question and the ones that have comments that are not can make you feel very uncomfortable when speaking to them. So talking openly about mental health, and it states that I talk about it on about anxiety, depressions, and other mental health issues on my social media platforms, just to make it make awareness to it, and even if this person if I can just help one person, to me, I've done my job, and I know I've done more than that. I have a very good amount of followers and people that are jumping on board and checking out my website and wanting to do more and more about making awareness in their area. Educate yourself and others. So take the opportunity to educate people and share personal stories and struggles with your mental illness. So what I mean by that is talk about what you're going through. What issues are you having? If it's something traumatic that happened to you that caused the mental illness or your depression or your sadness or PTSD, just talk about it. Find someone that you feel comfortable with, that you can speak these things about too. I lost my son in May 17th, 2020, last year. And I struggle with it a lot. And just by talking about it helps me personally talk about it. I found my son in the living room in his apartment. And I kind of replay that picture in my head. And it's very tough for me sometimes. And just by, like I said, just by talking about it really, really helps me get through it. And be conscious of your language when you're talking to someone. Make sure you're not saying anything that can be offensive. Or if someone's saying something offensive towards you while you're trying to tell them what's going on with you, just let them know. Just let them know that, hey, listen, I'm not really feeling what you're saying. Maybe they just need to be a little bit more educated on how they speak about mental illness, and fighting the stigma by reminding people that their language does matter. So when you are in a conversation, just be aware of your language, the words that you're using, and that can, that would help out as well too. Now, let's see. So show compassion for those with mental illness. The simple act of showing affection can make someone's day. A friendly smile will always be comforting to others. So I always smile. If you notice throughout this session, I'm going to be smiling a lot. The name of my business or my organization and my website is Hope My Smile Make You Smile. And that has gotten a lot of feedback regarding that, and I get a lot of people saying, hey, keep smiling, or your smile does make me smile, and it makes me feel good because I know that I'm reaching people and they're listening and they're getting it. Choose empowerment over shame. So fight the stigma by choosing to live an empowered life. This means owning my life and my story and refusing to allow others to dictate how I view myself and how I feel about myself. People have their own opinions about how you feel. People, family members, friends, they may be like, hey, it's been some time now. Maybe you should start getting over it, or maybe you should start doing something different, or making you feel that you need to get over your depression or your anxiety or whatever it is that you're going through. That shouldn't happen. Everybody gets over these things depending on what they're dealing with at their own time. So be respectful of that and let them know. Just let them know how you're feeling. And if someone does say that to you, just make it known and let them know that you want them to understand that you are in the process and that you're working on it. And they shouldn't be coming down on you regarding that, because it makes the stigma stand out even more. Then you're not going to want to talk to anyone regarding that. So why do students need to be more aware of our mental health? We got to close the gap, and the schools are supposed to help the younger generations prepare for the world that awaits and all the obstacles they might run into. However, there's a gap when it comes to mental health. Without proper education, students won't know how to, and one is recognize the problem they're experiencing, open up to it, look for help other peers with similar or other mental health problems. This gap needs to be closed, and children and young adults need to have a chance of dealing with mental health problems just like they'll deal with any other problem. And this is something important that the schools should have, so the students or even the staff can feel comfortable talking about mental health. Just like you go to a doctor for when you're not feeling well, you should be able to express yourself and be able to let people know what you're going through mentally. And we're supposed to break down. Well, let's break down together and take a deeper look at why we need schools on board spreading awareness about mental health. So schools need to adapt the policy of advocating mental health awareness, speaking up about your problems. Student needs someone to push them in the right direction and help them to start a journey of therapy and healing. Early intervention. Just like with any other disease or health problem, early intervention are important in mental health. Teachers, school counselors, school psychologists, and peers need to learn about detecting early signs of mental health issues, spotting meaningful changes in behavior, acting at the first sign of potential mental health problems. If the mental health is in its early stage, there's a chance of stopping it from being fully blown. Everyone involved in a typical school day of a person experiencing mental health. Let me just move this, sorry. Oops. Okay. Experience mental health problems need to be on board and help them deal with it. So this I think is very important when it comes to teachers and counselors and school psychologists and your peers, is detecting the signs of mental illness issues early on. By doing that, it does help you not get to that point of full-blown depression or anxiety. And just knowing the behaviors, how you're feeling, the funniness that you feel inside when you're feeling some type of anxiety or depression, and acting on the first sign of potential mental health problem. Maybe when you speak to a teacher or a counselor or a school psychologist or your peers, they may even suggest that you speak to someone, a professional, regarding that, and just to help you try to determine and try to get a hold of what your feelings are and what's going on and why you're feeling that way. Let me open this up. And social media influence. This is one thing that it's either good or bad. Social media, um, it's social media can leave the consequences and deep scars. And watching rich and famous people, celebrities, and social media, um, it can be kind of, it could cause anxiety with a lot of young people, only because they look at themselves and they have low self-image. They think because their bodies doesn't look like theirs, or their depression, it starts to hit and the anxiety starts to happen. They feel like they're not like these people that have so many followers, and they're famous and everybody likes them. And then you start to feel like, okay, so I really don't feel like, like I feel like that. But social media is something that we really should be careful with. With this kind of new threat, schools need to raise the bar in the mental health awareness and ensure their students are learning about self-love, system of values, loving everyone, not judging people, talking about their insecurities openly. This would be beneficial for the proper development of students and preventing them from feeling demoralized or depressed. And that's very important to think about that as well, especially when you're on social media. And a lot of people are addicted to social media, so they go on social media and they see all these things, and then they start body shaming themselves, or they start feeling low, and having low self-esteem. And that's not something that we want to do, because it does contribute to depression and anxiety. And that's one thing that we kind of need to look out for when we are on social media. Um, Eliminating the cause. Learning about the cause of stress, depression, or anxiety is important, and the school can be a major trigger for most students experiencing mental health issues. Students feel stressed out due to school pressures, peer pressures, bullying at school, over strict teacher, too much workload, the pressure to have high grades. If everyone in school knew what stressed out the student the most, they would find a way to eliminate these stresses factors and create a warmer and relaxing atmosphere at the school. This will further help the student find their peace and balance, and eliminate the feeling of pressure, anxiety, and stress, which could further develop into even more severe mental health issues. Schools need to initiate changes and get as many people, students, and teachers, and the school employees to work on raising mental health awareness. And start with yourself, of course, and initiate change in the school today. So you can even start something. You can, if there's not a program at school, or if there's not something that they don't have a class for this, or if you know that there's quite a few people, and I'm pretty sure with students, there's quite a few people quite a few students going through a lot of anxiety, depression, and some type of mental health issues. And this is something that you can bring about in your school yourself, if you want to do that, just to bring awareness. Um, the impact of COVID-19 on students with mental health. COVID-19 pandemic has placed an unprecedented mental health burden on students. The COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic is the biggest health crisis for generations, and it is having a devastating impact on the lives of people across the world. A group of young people were asked what their top three concerns were about coping over the next few months, and the three most common answers were isolation and loneliness, not having enough food, supplies, managing mental health, and mental health deterioration. Um, and they could be more. You probably have other ones that can fit into this category regarding that, but definitely isolation and loneliness. Having to be homeschooled, and do school via the internet, or virtual rather. You don't feel like you're with your peers, so you feel lonely. You feel alone. You feel like you need to socialize and you're not having that. So that can actually be a concern, and not having enough food or supplies. With a lot of the students and schools that are closed due to the pandemic, and even parents that need to stay at home and due to the pandemic as well. Um, it may be hard to get enough food or supplies to the home, especially if they're not working. And then managing your mental health and mental health deterioration, that it can be a process as well. But just helping and working on this and having someone to talk to can really help with that. And for children and young people who are already struggling with their mental health, it is extremely a difficult time during the COVID-19 pandemic that we're going through. Here in the U.S., it seems to be getting a little bit better, but it's still being affected. There's still people getting COVID and being hospitalized, and the schools are opening up, but they're very restrictive. Not too many students in a classroom, and a lot of students go back and forth on whether they want to go back to the classrooms or not because of the safety of catching COVID. How to form better coping skills. And for this, this would help us while we're home or while we're not in school or what have you, is have the right attitude. We can't control what we are facing, but we do have a choice in how we face it. We can choose the attitude we take and whether we face each challenge as a threat or a challenge. Understanding the role of attitude. Your attitude can help you determine how stressful a situation feels for you and how you approach your options. Examine your thought patterns. Your thought patterns may feel automatic, but you can choose where your focus lies. To begin to make that choice, it helps to begin aware of your habitual thinking patterns. This exercise can help you to see these patterns more clearly and can help you to relieve stress in the process. Practice positive self-talk. Positive self-talk means using more optimistic language in your head and focusing more on possibilities. It involves more than merely trying to look on the bright side, although that is a part of it. Learn the specific areas where you can shift your focus and in process alter what is possible for you and how stressful or stress-free your life feels. And then we have change what you can. Sometimes there are certain aspects of the situation you can change, even if you cannot change the situation as a whole. So all these coping skills are very important, and this it's just it'll help us to get the right attitude, to talk positive, to understand our role, and to examine our patterns of mental health, and to change what we can on that. Building resilience. If you can't do any more to change your situation, you can still reduce the stress you feel as you manage your daily life. The following are a few resilience building activities to add to your life. The more they become an automatic habit, the less stressors will bother you. So one thing is self-care. When we are tired, hungry, run down, everything feels stressful, and we have fewer coping resources at our disposals. So focusing on taking care of our bodies, and you will have a greater ability to handle frustration and stress in your life overall. So just having self-care for ourselves, just being mindful of how we're feeling, how our stresses are feeling, and just like it says, being hungry, being run down, you're feeling tired, that does trigger a stressful day or a stressful situation, and we need to do something to make ourselves aware of how we're feeling. Exercising is an excellent way of relieving stress. Some people may not have access to like a gym or anything like that, but just a simple walk, going outside, have a bike, ride your bike. All these stress relievers really, really do help reduce our stress levels that we have and that we go through. Meditation. Not sure how many of you guys meditate. I love meditating. It helps me to kind of put my thoughts together, and my feelings together. And I think without meditation, it feels like I'm having a stressed day. And the day that I don't meditate is the day that I'm feeling like, okay, I'm feeling a little stressed today. And then I look back and like, hey, I didn't meditate. But meditation can help you to remain centered in the face of stress and can help you to regain sense of peace when you are feeling off balance. And that is so true. And I have to attest to that. Maintaining a positive attitude is one thing that you can do to make everything in your life feel easier. A positive attitude also helps you to get along better with others, which can lead to a greater social support and less conflict, and can help you to remain feeling good and even when things around you are not so great. So it's just how we see things and how we accept things will help as well. Um, it would be great if we could simply avoid or eliminate stressors in our lives. You may be able to change everything, and you may not be able to change everything in your life, but these tips can help us to adapt easily to stressful situations you may face. And this is my contact information. I know that was a lot of information to cover quickly, and I kind of went through it, but if you guys have any questions, regarding this, please let me know. And I believe, Cyan, you said this was going to be a copy that they can go over. They'll be
Yes,
able to see this.
definitely.
Okay. Yeah. So if there's anything that you need me to go over, just let me know. I'm also, you can look me up on Instagram, Facebook. I have my website as well, to reach out to, which is hopemysmilemakeyouSmile.org, which is right here. And what I do, I just try to help and support those who are struggling with their mental illness and need some type of support or advice or guidance. And that's it. And sorry that was so quick. It was just a lot of information. I just wanted to make sure that we can cover that. And let's see. Do you console? Thank you, Shaya, for saying that. And I can tell you a little bit about my situation with my son. My son was 31 and he struggled with mental health issues. He had depression and he had PTSD. A lot of things was going on with my son, and he was very, very sad. On May 15th, that was the last day I saw him. And I remember him getting out of the car, and he was very sad. And a mother knows when a child is struggling and a child is not feeling well. And I try to console him as much as I can as a parent. Um, but when you're that deep into your mental health or mental illness, sometimes it's a little hard to get over it, especially if you're if self medicating yourself, which my son was, unfortunately. He was self medicating, and I believe he was taking out drinking alcohol as well while he was doing that. So he sent me a text message on Friday night, and it was a funny text. It wasn't something that I was comfortable with. And I tried calling him and he answered, and he just seemed very tired and sluggish. So I told him to go to sleep and I will reach out to him in the morning because I knew he was really tired from his trip from Florida. And he didn't answer his phone when I called him on Saturday. I kept trying all day, and I was over my daughter's house, and we were waiting for him to come, and he didn't show. And my other daughter um, felt funny and kept telling me like something's wrong. And I felt something was wrong as well. It's not like my son not to reach out to me. And um, so that Saturday night, I kept calling. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go there in the morning. So my daughter called me at 6 in the morning on Sunday, May 17th. And she told me, like, Mommy, I can't sleep and I think something's wrong. And I was like, okay. So I went to pick her up. We went over to my son's apartment, and I opened I unlocked the door and I yelled his name out. His name was Justin. And I was like, Justin? And he didn't answer. And his apartment's not that big, so he would have heard me even come through the door. And his dog came running to me at the door. And I walked in and I saw some feet, some legs on the ground, on the floor. And I walked closer and around the kitchen area, and I saw that it was my son. And he was laying there, still, not moving. Um, I didn't know what to think at that point. I really didn't. I think I just my I was just in another zone, I believe, when that happened. And I went to go grab his hand, and it was cold. And I sat down next to him and I touched his chest, and it was very hard. And he had some foam or something on his nose and a little on his mouth. And his eyes were slightly open. And I freaked out. I freaked out. As a parent, as a mother, I freaked out. My son was laying there lifeless. I didn't know what to do. As much training as I had for CPR and first aid, all that went out the window. I didn't know what to do. My daughter and I are just standing there running around like chickens with their head cut off, like we didn't know what was going on, how we should handle this. And he just laid there. My husband called the ambulance, and they came and they told us that he passed some time ago, which I'm assuming he probably passed on Saturday. And the guilt that hit me for me not going to his apartment, and all these, I mean, I think about it all the time, like what if I could have did this or I could have did that. And it beat me up a lot. I got very, very depressed, very depressed. Like I could not stop crying. And it was very hard. And it was very, very hard. Um, and that was in May. And the beginning of June, I went to go see a psychiatrist and a psychotherapist, in which I'm still seeing both right now, to help me get through this. Sometimes I have my good days and sometimes I have my bad days, but I beat myself up a lot. And I try not to do that. And I even tell people not to do that because it just makes your mental health, your depression and your anxiety even worse when you do that. And there's nothing that I could have done. My son was already, I think he's already decided that this was too much for him to handle, and that's the only way that he can see out of it. So that's my story, and that's why I started my organization, so I can help people understand and to help them get through the tough parts of mental health and things that are going on with their lives. I mean, it could be anything. My son just suffered from PTSD from being at the wrong place and at the wrong time, and his car got shot up at a gas station where there was a shootout, and he was petrified. It was him and his girlfriend. Then his girlfriend and him broke up, which was a really bad breakup. And all this totaled, I mean, it just piled up on him, and he just got totally depressed. And I can see the difference. And with people, when you notice a difference in their attitude and how they're acting, and they're not so social and not so talkative, that's a sign of mental health issues that you're going to be having, and you need to address that through a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist or a doctor, or even just talking about it to someone, a counselor, like myself. I'm a mental health first aider, and I talk a lot about bereavement and grief and anxiety, depression, um, and self-medicating while you're going through this. But that's my story, and I hope it wasn't a lot for you guys to hear. I know it was a little graphic there, so what I was saying, but um, that's what I go through on a daily basis. Those are my struggles that I struggle with. But talking to you guys and being able to talk about it to people, it just it's great. It's a therapy for me, and that's why I love doing this. And just letting people know that I'm here to help. So, if you have any questions, if not, Cyan, I'm good on my part.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sandra. And I'm kind of glad that we've had our conversations beforehand because hearing your story, it's always like a roller coaster of emotions, but it's
Mhm.
also just a testament to your strength, not only as someone who is a first aid counselor, a mental health first aid counselor, but also as a mother. And it's always so wonderful to hear how people can turn their internal battles and the grief and the bereavement that they have to face every day, but they
Yeah.
turn into some sort of empowerment to make a difference in the world and to
Mhm.
really help other people through your own.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. And a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of young adults, they go through a lot of things that they probably never went through. And it's a struggle, and it's a fight for them to get through that sometimes, and they need help. They need someone to talk to. They need someone, having mental health or having a mental illness. It's People shun on that. They don't like talking about it. They think it's embarrassing. They think that people are going to look at them as a sign of weakness, but it's not. Just like you go to a doctor when you're not feeling well, physically, then you should be going to see somebody regarding your mental health problems that you're having. If you're having these thoughts that you're not feeling right, or you're feeling really extremely sad, or you're just not in the mood to do anything, your eating changes, your activity changes, all those can be an issue, and it can be helped. We're here to help, and we have to really stop the stigma of people looking at mental health as a depression, or I'm not a depression, but as a sign of weakness, because it's not. By talking about it, we're making ourselves stronger. We're making everyone aware of what's going on and what's happening with everyone. To me, everyone has a mental health issue. It could be something extreme or something not as extreme, just a little bit, but it's still, everyone has it. We have our mental health just like we have our physical health. So that's something that we really need to make sure that we're taking care of, is our mental health in any capacity.
Exactly. And you know what? I think this leads us into a really great segue because there's some people who wanted to ask questions anonymously through the
Sure,
registration form. So I have a couple questions that
sure.
I think are pretty actually really important to answer. So, you have talked about your story, your experience with
Mm-hmm.
your son. And someone who registered, they recently lost their father in 2019. And they
Mm.
were wondering if you could actually share a little bit about, what helped you through the grieving process and what do you think are like healthier ways to kind of go through this process.
I did. And thank you for that question. I did have I had a good support. I have a good support team. My husband, my children, my best friend, they're all were very, very good support, and they still are. When I'm having my low days, just speaking about it, just talking to someone, just letting them know, and just be out front with them. I'm not feeling it today. I'm feeling low today. My mental health is just real. I'm really struggling today, and just getting that out and just saying that helped. Um, I needed a little bit more help, because like I said, couldn't stop crying. I cried and cried for days and days, and it was getting to the point where it was interrupting my life because I didn't do anything. I wasn't eating. Um, and then I was seeing a psychotherapist, and he suggested that I see a psychologist, I mean, a psychiatrist for it. And they put me on some medication. I don't recommend that for anybody that just goes on, you want medication right away. No. But if it's as severe as a death in the family or a death of someone very close to you, you may need medication to help you get through what you're going through. And that's actually what kind of helps me somewhat. Um, I've been taking it now for about, I say about 7 months, and it does help, but I still sometimes have my days where I'm feeling low. And I just talk through it. I just get online. I reach out to people that are going through the same things I'm going through, and we just have a chat about it. On my website, I have a session where it says, just want to talk. I have people signed up for that where we just talk about grief or bereavements or any type of mental health that they're going through. We just talk about it. It doesn't matter what it is. If something's bothering you, we talk about it. So my support team was very important to me to have, and it's good to have a good one, whether it be family and friends. But just be mindful of those who um, don't take mental health as seriously and thinking that it's something that you can just get over. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. Make sure that you're talking to someone, and make sure you feel safe. That's the primary thing. You feel safe and you feel secure, and you know that you're it's private, and that you're talking to someone, and because you're spilling your guts out. You're spilling your guts out, and you need to that needs to it can be kind of scary when you do that. So that was my thing. Did you have another question, Cyan?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Sandra. That was a really great answer. Also, because you know what, I think transparency is a very big thing when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
talking about your mental health. You shouldn't be able, like, I know, like, I don't like to shy away from, like, if I'm getting to a certain point where everything's sort of bottling up, and burnout and everything just kind of hits you all at once.
Yes.
Sometimes when you choose to ignore the background. So I think creating that support system, creating that transparency is very important, especially when you are grieving as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads us to another question. So someone had a question about anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
and what is it like, what are some coping mechanisms when you're losing control of your anxiety, and you're having like panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's any suggestions that you may have from your experiences, or
Yes.
from your teaching and your counseling, what are some advice you could share for that person?
Yes, yes. I actually have a lot of panic attacks sometimes, depending on the day and what I'm going through and what I'm looking for. Like if I'm planning my day out and it seems overwhelming, I start to panic. And especially when my son had died, I felt every day was a panic attack. The first thing I definitely do is breathe. It is so important to control your breathing, especially when you're having a panic attack. Breathing, breathing in, holding it, count to four, and push it out. And just while you're having a panic attack, your chest is like, so you're breathing quickly. So you just need to control that, slow it down, and just be mindful like, okay, so this is what's happening. Be mindful of what's going on and how you need to control it. So breathing to me was very, very important, doing my breathing exercises. Even when I feel depressed, sometimes I do breathing exercises where I close my eyes, I do deep breaths in, hold it, and out. And believe it or not, your whole body, you can feel literally your body just relaxing. And that helps. That really helps a lot. A lot of people think like, oh no, that's not going to work. I'm really feeling anxious. But when they actually do the exercise with me, they're like, wow, I feel a lot better. And it helps when you meditate. Meditating is great. It helps you to kind of take control of your mind, your feelings, your emotions, and they put them at ease. And the situation hasn't left. It's still the same situation. Okay, you're still feeling the same way, but now you're coping with it a little bit better when you meditating, you're doing your breathing exercises. And that's what I find with myself. That's what I usually do, and I do that on a regular basis, by the way. So when I wake up in the morning, do my breathing exercises, I meditate. I do breathing exercises throughout the day. I even take a minute if I'm in the kitchen or I'm doing something or I'm driving. I do my breathing exercises because I tend to feel a little anxiety coming on, and like you can feel it. When you feel it edging on, start your breathing exercises, and trust me, that does work. It works wonders. I
Thank
hope that
you.
answered that question.
But actually, I think I needed that a little bit too. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So the next question comes from another person, and it's about people who, you might be concerned about their mental health. This is coming
Mhm.
from more of the outsider's perspective.
Okay.
How do you treat people, or how do you try to, connect with them over their mental health issues? How do you not necessarily confront them, but how
Mhm.
do you inquire in a respectful manner about their mental health and get them to kind of open up? Is that kind of their position? Should they be even trying to do that? Or, is there an appropriate way to go about that?
There is and there isn't, depending on what the that person is going through. Um, but the one thing that you have to realize is that the person that is having a mental illness, and they're looking for help, they have to be open with their feelings. They have to be open to talk about it. So, what you can do is just listen. The most important thing to do is listen when someone is telling you about their feelings or their emotions or what they've been going through. They probably don't even know that they have depression. They probably don't even know that they're having anxiety. They're just having all these feelings build up and they don't know what to do with it. Um, just letting them talk and listening to what they have to say, and depending on what they say, you can kind of counter back with that. Like if someone says, like, I just been feeling really tired lately and anxious, and I'm not sure what's going on, and then just try to get a little bit more information, kind of dig in, do a little have them do a little investigation, like, well, why are you feeling like this? Well, what brought this on? Well, what happened last time? Like, what happened before you had felt like this? What had happened? Because maybe something happened or something that they heard or seen, or experienced that made them feel like that. And by knowing that can help a lot. So you know which direction to go with the person. But just talking to them, being vocal, letting them talk, letting them feel comfortable, letting them know that you are a safe place for them to come and talk with you.
Thank you. And we have one final question
Sure.
from the registration form. It's more about more of the advocacy perspective.
Okay.
So, what are some ways that we can advocate to make mental health resources more accessible and more easily available? And maybe this can definitely help us as an organization or the person asking this question.
Yeah, I think the resources are very important. There's so much resources that you can get online today. There's a lot of counselors. There's a lot of people that are licensed, that can help with mental illness and whatever they're going through. But really advocating awareness to let them know that mental health is not um, something that you can frown that's something that you frown on. It's like I said earlier, it's your mental health is just as important as your physical health, and talking about it and bringing awareness to it. Like I said, I do it on my social media platforms. I do it on my website. When I talk to people, I reach out to people, I call people, I just hit them up, send them messages, just to see how they're doing. And that's a start. Just ask them how they're doing. Be simple with your questions, and then let them talk. What's been going on? Well, I haven't been feeling that great lately. Well, what's going on? Well, why haven't you been feeling that good? Um, and make them feel comfortable talking to you and making awareness that it's okay, and that it's not a sign of weakness when you are feeling that way.
Perfect. Thank you. That wraps up the anonymous list of questions that we do have. So if
Okay.
anyone in the Zoom call right now who would like to ask that question, if you would prefer to private message either Sandra or myself through the live chat, you can do that. You can unmute and ask your question, or if not, we can continue on to our thank yous and wrapping up.
And anyone can contact me, like I said, through my social media, through Instagram, Facebook, my website. Um, if you have any questions or want to talk about something, or if you know someone that's struggling and needs to talk, my information is there.
I think we might have answered everyone's
Okay.
questions through the session. So I think
Okay.
we can head to wrapping up today's session. And of course, thank you, Sandra, for spending this time with us today, donating your time to this organization, and really sharing with us your expertise and also your experiences at Lives for Literacy. We definitely believe that lived experiences and sharing your lived experiences is one of the best ways to learn
Yes.
and grow.
Yes.
And I know for myself, as someone who definitely does struggle with their mental health at certain points in the year,
Hmm.
seasonal depression would have you, finals, having everything kind of bottle in. I
Hmm.
definitely appreciate you, and I could only express the same sentiments as everyone who has messaged in the chat. Thank you so much for spending this time with us today.
You're so welcome, and thank you everyone for reaching out in the chat. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me share my story with you. And like I said, I'm here to help. I don't want anyone to go through what my son went through, and I'm here to help. I'm here to bring awareness and to help people get through their mental illness. And possibly, like I said, if they do have issues, if I need to reach out to my resources, which I have plenty of resources to reach out to, depending on the situation, I'm here to help. So thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it.
And with that being said, please do make sure you keep in contact with Sandra. All of her information will be sent alongside the slide deck that we all are going to convert into a PDF. And make sure you definitely check out her website, check out her services. If you ever just want to talk to somebody, I think Sandra's a really great resource for anyone to outreach to. And, definitely everyone here that I see is part of Lives Literacy. So definitely make sure, I hope to see everyone here on the 24th. We are having our final bit of Pride celebrations at the organization. We are hosting another wonderful speaker who is going to be sharing his story, his viral coming out story. And, we're going to be talking more about our journey through self-discovery and how sexual identity plays a huge part in that sometimes.
Oh,
And
that's awesome. That's really awesome. I definitely want to jump onto that. That's
I'll
awesome.
make sure I send you the Zoom link.
Yes, please do.
And we are going to be celebrating our volunteers hopefully on the 26th. Our director of volunteers is planning a small celebration just to kind of show our appreciation to everyone involved in the organization. And with that being said, also to anyone joining us on YouTube or on social media, please look out. We are going to be growing the organization in these next few weeks. We have so many opportunities coming up for the executive team as well as volunteers on the events team. And yeah, I hope to see more people grow this organization and be a part of this excellent team. And that's the end of it. Thank you everyone to joining us. Thank you, Sandra, for
Thank
spending this
you.
time with us today. It's such an honor to always speak with you. I
Oh,
always feel
thank
like you
you.
create such a safe space for
Thank
anyone to
you.
express their thoughts. So thank you. And everyone, please, if you are joining us from YouTube, whether it be live or on social media, make sure you're checking out Lives for Literacy's website and our social media to keep up with any events, any campaigns, or any and all activism. So thank you all so much. And with that, today's event will be coming to a conclusion.